Hey everyone. So I went out for a nice walk this evening and I came back. Unfortunately, bad news on some of my applications. I wasn't selected, so I guess I just have to keep applying. But it's very stressful for me because I do have my rent and expenses and everything coming up. And I guess, now with what's happening in BC, it was kind of expected because Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had started this process of giving the lands back to the Indigenous people, and the courts are now ordering it the same way it was done in South Africa and in Zimbabwe and even India. When India got independence, the courts started ordering that certain lands would be given back to the local people who live there. So that process has now started in BC, and we're getting a lot of people saying, well, I paid for this is my land, and you can't just come in here and take it. But the Indigenous people, just like with the black people, with the Indian people, they're saying, look, this is our land, you colonized it centuries ago, and we want it back. So I guess even in America, I was watching the news, not recently, but this is like a few months ago when all these problems started coming up, and they were showing how many of the Jewish people are going back to Germany, and people are leaving, like people who are generations old in America are leaving and going back to Europe. They're going back to other places. So, I guess for me, that's when I started thinking about, well, what do I do? If that's what happens, where am I going to go? And that's why I've been asking the black leaders to start implementing a dual citizenship. It only makes sense, and it makes sense for Canada too, because then it makes it easier for people to go and work there and come back. It makes a lot of things easier. Whereas now, people will push back and push back and push back. But eventually, those agreements, to me, it looks like those agreements have been put in place. And I know when I was in South Africa in 2017, a lot of the white community who are left there, they're supporting the lands going back to the black people. People are renting. They're like, you know what, it's your land. We'll rent it and we'll live here, but we don't want to leave South Africa. So people are renting, or else they're being allocated lands which are for them. It's like how we lived in Rhodesia. There were certain sections of land that were allocated where the Indians could buy property, or the coloreds and the whites. And so that's what is happening in South Africa. I don't know what's going to happen here. But for me, I've been 3 years now at home. That, like I said, that first year, the slowdown started when they started taking the jobs away. And some of those jobs went to South Africa, some of them went to the Philippines. And it's not like the labor's that much cheaper, but they were expanding and they wanted to expand and go into those areas. So that's what they did. We're earning minimum wage. We're not earning that much less than the people in South Africa. So, it begs the question for me, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And for me, I was born in Zimbabwe. So obviously that's where I would go, because it's too hard to try to get Portuguese citizenship or Indian citizenship. I know when I was in Zimbabwe, my mother tried for me because I wanted it. I wanted to get the Portuguese passport because then I could go and work in England and I could go and work in Europe. And it just became so difficult, like we gave up looking into it. So I can't go back to Europe. I can't go back to England. I do apply for jobs there. I apply to all the big engineering firms, the construction firms. I apply for jobs in Europe, in England especially. And I had even applied to teleperformance in England, but nothing came up for me. So, it's just something to think about. And even here, like when in the Indian community in Africa, when you get married, you stay with your in-laws. So usually it's the girl that will relocate and go to where her husband's family is. And then you live in a multi-generational home. You don't have like each person living in their own home kind of thing. It's only here in the West that that's the norm. So in some places they are starting to build multi-generational homes. They're starting to build homes where families can live together. So like, say for example, just an example, my mother could live with me, with her husband. And it's not that unusual because like they are renting from a family, like it's family they're renting from. It's not strangers. I'm the only one that's living like on my own because I don't really have a choice. I need to be downtown. I need to be accessible for work. And Toronto's the hub. This is where the jobs are, if and when they do come up. So yeah, I mean, it's just something to think about. If we are forced to leave Canada, where do we go? What do we do? And for me, I don't have a problem with going back to Zimbabwe. I think I have the right mindset. I'm not going to fight to stay in a country that doesn't want me, that doesn't value my skills, that doesn't value my education, that's creating poverty and food banks and telling me to expect a poorer quality of life from the Bank of Canada. And that's why I was saying they're doing it on purpose. Because if you think about when they started this system of saying we're going to give the lands back to the indigenous people. That's when they started aiming very low. They didn't look at bringing in the investments. They didn't look at job creation. They didn't look at promoting people like me who have been in the country a long time. They just said, you know what, this is the new norm and there are various risk factors involved and we don't think things are going to get better and we think that this is how the standards are going to fall. So you can only push back so much. Yes, the Conservatives are pushing back and they're saying, no, we need to implement building, we need to have things that keep people in Canada, but a lot of people have already left. Many people have left and gone back to India. People are leaving America and going back to Nigeria and other parts of Africa. So for me too, I don't have a problem. I'm content. Whether I stay here or whether I go back, I'm content. It doesn't bother me. I won't be alone if I go to Zimbabwe. I've got lots of friends in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in that region. I won't be alone, so it's fine for me. But I need to have a job, and it doesn't matter to me whether that job is here or in England or in Zimbabwe. It doesn't matter to me as long as I can be independent and I can earn my living and, hopefully buy my own property. I'm happy. Because to me it doesn't make sense. It's not like the indigenous people are not going to keep fighting for their land. They want their land back, just like the black people wanted their land back and the Indian people wanted their land back. So, yeah, it's just something to think about for the future and for my future. And I started thinking about it then when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau started implementing the treaty agreements and the land agreements and all that. I was like, okay, well, you know what? Wherever I land up, I just have to trust the Lord that that's where He wants me to be. Because I've done everything right. I sponsored my mother. I brought her here. I'm the breadwinner. I'm supposed to be the breadwinner. And yet I'm sitting at home unemployed on welfare. I can't even pay my rent. I mean, it's not the dream life, It's not. That's not what I came to Canada for. And if I get a job in England, I'll go. I applied to all these big companies in England. If I get a job wherever, I'll go. Because nobody wants to be sitting at home and getting dirty text messages, and I report them. I tell people now. I can't report it to the police myself, but I've sent an email to Teleperformance to tell them what's happening and to ask them, like, can nothing be done to get me into a job? And I'm still applying. Whichever recruiters contact me, I don't say no, I just say yes, present me. It doesn't matter what the job is. I say yes, present my resume. So, whatever's happening to me, it's not my fault. That's all I can say. And will I miss Canada if I leave and go back to Zimbabwe? Probably. But I'll miss the church because I've been involved in the church for a long time. But I don't think I will have any problems adjusting to being back in Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe has got a Canadian embassy. So at the end of the day, it comes down to what the Indigenous people want, whether they want us to stay here or they want to be like the black people and say, no, you need to leave. I've been on Amnesty International calls, and they seem to be very conciliatory. They want people to work together with them. But, who knows what the future will bring? I don't know. Nobody knows what the future will bring. And I do stand up for them. I do sign petitions and things for them as well, because I know what it's like to be treated like a second-class citizen and to have no human rights and to be treated like you're just there. You're just a cog in the wheel, a spoke in the wheel. I know what it feels like. So I do stand with them, and I don't support Alberta separating from Canada. And, I'm also a citizen, so I do add my 2 cents. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Things are always changing, and who knows where that opportunity is going to come for me. I had originally contacted Rafa Nadal because I wanted to work for him. But then they said, we don't have anything for you. You can't come here. So that's why I just help him. I just share his posts and that for him. I made that agreement with him and Roger and Novak. And he doesn't have anything, so I can't go work in his hotel. But yeah, I like the tennis players. So we'll see what happens. And I'm at peace. I just need to get a job and get on with my life. That's basically it. I don't have any problems with leaving all of this behind and going back to Zimbabwe. None. Not one.